Please take your seats. Thank you. Welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed a good lunch and you had a chance to step outside and get some fresh air. This next session, we are going to focus on education, which I believe is one of the most essential components on achieving gender equality. Hearing from our education speakers is also one of my favorite parts of the convention. I've done this. As these young women truly exemplify the power education has to open up new opportunities and help individuals realize their full potential. Before we go to our awardee presentations, I would like to take a look at our education programs overall. Once again, I want to reflect on our founders and their focus more than 100 years ago. Reading from our history, on the 24th of October, 1920, all club presidents met in Syracuse, New York, and agreed on these three recommendations. One, that Zonta clubs adopt the specific aim of educational and constructive work for girls and women. Two, that the first annual convention would be held in Syracuse in May 1921, and that the services of an executive secretary be secured. But their number one was that they had a specific aim of education, and this is less than 12 months after Zonta was formed. Clearly, our founders saw the value in education. Some of the earliest support was for vocational training for girls. This training would help them learn a skill to allow them to enter the workforce. The founders saw women entering the workforce as the first step to achieve gender equality. Next, women needed to move into positions of decision-making. This is where change really happens. Those positions of authority typically require knowledge gained through education. Zonta's focus on education was solidified with the establishment of the Amelia Earhart Scholarship in 1938 in memory of famed Sontian and aviator Amelia Earhart. The scholarship was later changed to the Amelia Earhart Fellowship. The first award in 1940 was $500. Today, the fellowship is $10,000 each, and this biennium, 35 fellowships were given each year. Since 1938, Zonta has awarded 1,674 Amelia Earhart fellowships, totaling more than 11 million US dollars to 1,245 women from 75 countries. In the early years of the fellowship, few women qualified, since this was for a woman pursuing a graduate degree in aeronautical engineering, and very few women at the time received even a bachelor's degree in engineering, much less a graduate degree. Today, we receive far more fully qualified, outstanding candidates than fellowships to give. For the past several years, we have received over 170 applicants each year. Aerospace engineering and space sciences remain one of the most underrepresented fields for women, with recent statistics showing less than 20% of the workforce is women. Many of our Amelia Earhart Fellows are conducting research directly applicable to our lives, such as climate change, drones for crop management, delivery of goods in urban and remote areas, Earth orbiting satellites for earthquake predictions, extreme weather monitoring, including hurricanes and typhoons, pollution tracking, and improved medical devices as a direct result of space technology. Many of you know how the fellows' research relate to us. We also hear from the fellows how much the fellowship means to them to achieve their goals, to encourage them. Just recently, I was reading an article from the December 1978 issue of the Zonta magazine. And I want you to listen to the words that were spoken by 1978 AE fellow Gail after she received her first fellowship. She said, and I am quoting this, "By your support of the Amelia Earhart fellowships and your encouragement of young scientists around the world, you prove yourself to be vastly more farsighted than most organizations dedicated to improving conditions in the world. But an organization is made up of individuals. That you are willing as individuals to take the long view, training young women as scientists in areas of concern to world welfare." This quote tells me that each of you have a touch of the visionary and faith that vision and hard work will make the future world a world with hope. These are the words from 1978. They still relate today. If you are an Amelia Earhart Fellow with us in attendance today, would you please stand? The Amelia Earhart Fellowship is Zonta's longest running service project. But it wasn't until 52 years later that the next Zonta education program was added. This was the Young Women in Public Affairs Award, the YWPA, as most of us know it. Since its inception, we have recognized more than 850 young women from 58 countries for their leadership skills and commitment to public service and civic causes. This biennium's recipients are already championing issues such as Indigenous rights, bullying, urban development, immigration reform, gun violence, mental health, climate change, environmental justice, and so much more. Many of them have founded or co-founded organizations and are already bringing about change in their local communities. They aren't waiting for others to act. They are being bold and decisive in their actions. If you are a YWPA awardee here in the audience, please stand. Zonta's education programs continue to be an important part. Our third education award is the Jane M. Klausman Women in Business Scholarship, which was established in 1998 to encourage more women to pursue education and careers in business. Since then, Zonta International has awarded scholarships totaling more than 1.6 million US dollars to 522 women from 66 countries. This biennium's JMK scholars are trailblazers and entrepreneurs. They are already making their mark in the business world by reimagining corporate social responsibility, transforming the future of healthcare, and empowering other women. We cannot wait to see what is next for all of them. If you are a JMK scholar, will you please stand up? Zonta's education programs continue to be an important part of our mission for gender equality. Our fellows, scholars, and awardees continue to express their gratitude and emphasize the importance of the awards they receive. They are doing great work, and many of them are role models for the next generation and are directly involved in youth mentoring programs. We applaud them all for all their efforts. To our Zonta members, thank you to everyone who supports these programs with donations to the Zonta Foundation for Women by encouraging promising candidates to apply. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Stefanie Dussler. Stefanie is a 2021 Amelia Earhart Fellow pursuing a PhD in aeronautical engineering at Imperial College London. Stefanie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, President Shannon, for these kind introducing words. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. I will start with introducing me a bit more. Basically, my academic journey started just 200 kilometers away from here at the Technical University of Braunschweig, where I started with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. And in the third semester, we had to pick a field of specialization. Luckily, my friends took me to a presentation of the German astronaut Alexander Gerst. And after listening 1.5 hours to an astronaut who just came back from space, there are no question marks anymore. I went full in, chose aerospace engineering, and I haven't regretted ever since. So my master was basically split. I spent 1 year in Germany and another year at Purdue University in the US, which is known as the cradle of astronauts, since many astronauts such as Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, attended this university. I also did some internships, actually 2 here in Hamburg. So I'm really glad that I can come back to a city that I call home, and which is actually my favorite city in Germany. So I hope you had already some time to explore it. Since October 2020, I'm a PhD student in London at the Imperial College, and I'm at the Aeroelastic Lab. I will later tell you a bit more about my research. And last year I got the Amelia Earhart Fellowship, so thank you very much. I actually got in touch with Zonta a year before in summer 2020 because the local club in Braunschweig gave me an award for a master's thesis, and they actually encouraged me, or like showed me that this fellowship even exists and encouraged me to apply. So I'm glad that I got the push from them. I was asked to tell you today a bit about the fellowship, what it means to me, about my research and my future plans. Let's start with the fellowship. So, I mean, from this fellowship, there's obviously this financial aspect. When you're a PhD student in London, your PhD salary is not really high. And to be honest, when you have to pay rent, it really hurts. But the university provides many opportunities to earn some money on the side with teaching or marking jobs. Just support the staffs there with the teaching side of academia. And what some of my friends do is that they pick every job that they can do to earn extra money. But since I have this financial support from Zonta, I can be much more picky. So I still do teaching because it's just a part of academia, which is really important. But I only pick subjects that are really interesting for me and where I find that it can improve me. This also gives me more time for my actual research, and overall I can focus more on my academic goals. Further, it gives me the opportunity to still do things that I do apart from university. There's like something which really important to me is actually some volunteering work. When I was younger, I was quite good in chess actually. I won some German national championships, and I can say that I was very lucky because my first chess coach who taught me how to play and supported me since I'm 6 years old, he was actually very passionate about supporting women and girls in this man-dominated chess world. And it was good to have him. He had always had my back and spoke out if I faced discrimination or other parts of these things went wrong. And he inspired me a lot, also on a personal level. And now I'm just trying to contribute as well in this way. So I'm teaching, especially girls, go to them with tournaments, supervise them there, and hope that I can encourage them and be kind of a role model for them. And also my old chess club here in Germany near Hanover, the Escalerte. Since 2018, we're actually offering coach sessions specifically for mothers in our club to give them the opportunity to learn the sport and also know what their children are talking about. On top of that, the fellowship gives you some kind of really good reputation, or I already feel it now in the academia world. The Amelia Fellowship is known as a prestigious fellowship. So I think you did a really good job here in setting this fellowship up and how to run it. Now we come to the technology part of this talk. I will keep it as simply as possible. So in my research, I'm looking at commercial aircrafts, which basically fly and encounter gusts and how to handle such gusts. I will explain this more now. So just imagine you're sitting in an aircraft in cruise flying to your holiday destination. And these aircrafts, they have a lot of mass. And to be able to fly, you have to have this lift force, which acts in the opposite direction. And this lift is actually generated at the wings. So the lift is acting upwards. So what it does to your wings, it's actually the wing bends upwards. And there's a lot of loads here at your wing root. And in cruise, it deforms a bit, but it's not so crucial. When the aircraft gets a bit shaky, you've probably all experienced this before. And this is because of atmospheric turbulence, or you can also call them gusts. And in the worst case, these gusts can hit the aircraft below the wing, and the lift is enhanced by a lot. And so is the wing bending and especially the loads. So apart from the discomfort you feel as a passenger, the structure is also a bit worried, but basically nothing will ever happen in such events. The reason for this is that aircraft manufacturers, they use a lot of additional support structure to withstand higher loads in these cases. However, more structure means more weight, and this is never good in the commercial aviation industry. That's why there's this idea of load alleviation, which is already applied at some like operational aircrafts. But the idea is here just when the gust hits the aircraft that we use other methods to directly reduce the loads so that we never get these high peak loads. And by that, we can avoid the support structure and we will have a much lighter aircraft. Most important consequence of this is that we will burn much less fuel and we will have emissions. So overall, we have a much greener airplane. In my lab, we specifically look at the aeroelasticity, so the flexibility of the aircraft. So elasticity, we look at the aerodynamics and how it interacts with the structural response of these aerodynamic loads and how this basically interferes with the aerodynamics then again. And for this, we are developing computational nonlinear elastic simulation environment called SharpEye. And here I will just share with you some of my recent research in a video. which I presented last week in our elasticity conference. And here you basically see a very flexible wing, which is hit by a gust, and then you can see the wing deformation. So it deforms by a lot, and you also see some torsional movement, and also the aircraft is not flying straight anymore. You get a bit of an uplift, and that's what we're simulating. So the first step here was to see what happens if we encounter a gust. And the next step is this load alleviation that I'm working on. For this, we use movable control surfaces at the wing. They already exist there. You can see them sometimes during launch and landing actuated. And the problem with gusts is that they are very random and unpredictable events. So we don't know when a gust or if a gust will hit our aircraft in flight. We don't know the direction. We don't know the length of the gust, not the frequencies, not the intensities. So we need a really robust control system for this, what I'm designing currently. Just to share some preliminary results. So in the middle, you can see the angle of the control surface deflection. So here, basically the control surface is deflected upwards. By this, we are manipulating the aerodynamics, reducing these loads. And on the right, you can see the resulting wingtip deflection. So the deflection of the outermost point of your wing. In green, you see the uncontrolled case where the wing deflects the wing deflection doubles. And when we use these control systems, we're actually able to reduce this deflection massively. So for my future plans, I would really like to stay in commercial aviation industry. The reason for this is when we look at future aircraft concepts from Airbus, and I also have a Boeing aircraft for the Americans here, we see that these wings, they will basically get even longer than they are now. And you also want to save structure to have a lighter aircraft, so the wing becomes more flexible. And we need then also this load alleviation in particular. So my research focuses exactly on this future trends. And my motivation to stay in the commercial aviation industry is that I want to use my knowledge and apply it to contribute to a greener future, because I think to have a job where you feel that you can change the world a little bit and make it a bit better is always a good thing to have. So thank you very much. And I'm happy to hear your questions.
Thank you, Stefanie. We're proud to call you an Amelia Earhart Fellow, and I'd like Holly Anderson to come up. She is our Amelia Earhart Fellowship Chair this biennium. Our gift is behind the podium.
Okay, I'm sorry. Congratulations.
Nice to meet you, Fanny.
I remember your application.
Thank you.
Oh. Here we go. A small gift for you.
Our next speaker is Laura Ufer. Laura is a 2021 Jane M. Klausman Women in Business Scholar pursuing her master's degree in entrepreneurship. Laura, the floor is yours.
Oh, hello. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Hi. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you, Stefanie. Can you all hear me? That's my first time speaking in front of so many people. I'm pretty excited. Okay, so hi, I'm Laura, and I'm honored to stand in front of all of you today. This conference is so far exceeding all my expectations, from the organization to the speakers yesterday to all the amazing women I've met so far. So first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Laura, and what I can say about myself is I'm pretty passionate about business. I'm honestly really passionate about business. So you can see a picture of me right there. And I would say everything started in high school. You might see the camera there, it's pretty big. And I was actually totally into film. So it wasn't that much business, it was a lot of film. And we used to make a lot of films with 3 girlfriends of mine. And we were getting better and better with every film we made. And we actually won a lot of competitions doing so. And everyone in my high school basically thought I would become the next filmmaker, studying directing or film production, right? But they were shocked when they heard that I actually chose business over film. So, well, there was I deciding for business. And for me, that was a simple choice, right? I enjoyed doing the visuals and the editing for the films, but I actually enjoyed more the planning of the projects, the execution of it, and then marketing it to others, like bringing it to the audience. And that's the ultimate purpose of the film, right? Well, perfect. So I started studying business in Cologne. This is where there's a huge TV hub and stuff going on in Cologne. So I decided to go for Cologne, still a lot of film going on, but also now actually starting to study business. And yeah, I during my studies, I actually did a lot of, I interned at Otto, for example. I experienced a lot of different fields of the business environment. And then in the last year of my studies, I actually also studied at Harvard, and there I studied economics and media studies. So the film never really let go, but I was always the creative business student, I would say. So after a gap year and a couple of internships, I started studying entrepreneurship at WHU. It's a renowned, if you want to say so, business school in Germany. And yeah, so these are a few peers of mine, and I'll come back to that in a second. But before that, I want to highlight that I'm really honored to be one of 6 international recipients of the Jane M. Klausman Women in Business Scholarship 2021. So President Shannon already introduced the scholarship, but for the ones, and since I've heard there are 700 first-timers on that conference, I want to restate a few facts. So the award has been here since 1998, and last year there have been 6 women awarded and received the international. 6 women have received the international awards, and the award's goal and mission is to help women pursue their undergraduate and master's degree in business management, and that's a really crucial sentence for me, overcome gender barriers from the classroom to the boardroom. This sentence has actually motivated me to submit my application to Zonta International. You might think why? Because that's actually representing my experience so far in business and entrepreneurship. So obviously it's me on the right, the only girl. Then there are a few business students and my professor in the middle holding the beer. I'm holding the coffee, by the way, so this is Jenny. And then we have Kagan Zuma here. Some of you might know him. He is the CEO of Gorillas. It's a grocery delivery startup founded 2020. It's already a unicorn, growing strong. Yeah, and I was kind of the only girl around, and this is really reflecting what the future, what the current situation looks like in startup. So I want to tackle that problem, and because I'm a really number-driven person, I brought you some stats, and I hope that's not too much, but I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So. Yeah. So let's get the facts clear. So there you see a bar, right? And in the next slide, I show you the share that female founders startups take in. Okay, so the female founded startups is a startup that is not entirely founded by by a woman, but like at least by one woman in the founding team. So remember that. So I want you to guess a few numbers. Maybe just shout out a few numbers that I can hear a few that you think. Yeah. Okay. So you are more conservative. It's actually already 15%, but I think there is still a lot of space for improvement, right? So let's take a deeper look at the startup, folks. More stats. So when you look at the size of the startups in terms of employee numbers, and I want you to focus on the first two bars, we see that only sorry, I'm so blind, but I think it's 3% of the female founders have more than 10 employees, not more, right? While the male share of more than 10 employees is 23%, huge difference. So right now we can see female started startups are much, much smaller than their peers, which might have something to do with their primary focus, right? So what we can see here is that the male founders in way more cases take scalability as their main focus for their startup. So 90% of male businesses have scalability as their main focus, while on for female founders, it's only 72%. Okay. And but for the ones that want to grow, right? You have business angels out there, venture capital out there, right? And you really want to engage in it, right? And the first step for the seed phase, the very first stage of a startup is to get angel funding, okay? And I want you to focus on the red bars here. And the bars show the shares between male and female founding startups that want to get business funding. So for example, you see 33% of female founded startups want to get business angel funding, okay? And 40% of the male startups want to get business angel funding. So far, so good. It's good. It's a little share. Some just don't want to have it, right? The girls are not in need of it so much. But if you compare it to the share of the startups that actually get it, there's a huge difference, right? So compare this: 33% of female founded startups want to get it, only 8% get it at the end. 40% of the male startups want to get it, 26% get it at the end. And we see the same coming true in the venture capital field. Okay, so if you look at the graph right there, you see 50% of women-founded startups want to get venture capital funding, only 2% get it. So this is where I want to contribute to, and this is where I want to dedicate my life towards. We already see a positive trend going on from 2015 to 2019. So the share of female founders is increasing, but I think there's still a lot to do. I've done a lot. This is representing in some fancy logos here, but maybe it's more important what I want to do next. So next, I really want to engage in venture capital funding and make funding more accessible for female founded startups. Then I want to create Then I want to really full-time invest my time into an own business. I've so far a few couple of side hustles, so to speak, on my side while I was studying, but I want to invest my time time in my own business to get real experience on how to actually execute on it. And then I want to pass on my knowledge, which I'm already doing, mentoring like some first-time students. We call them Arbeitskinder in Germany, that which their parents have not been studying so far. So I'm trying to advise them on what to do in the business fields and what's best for them. Thanks. And with the support of Zonta, I had a lot of opportunities within the last year. I was able to finance my business studies at WHU. It's a private school and it costs a lot, not as much as it does in the US, but for the German field, it's still a lot. So I was able to gain a lot of knowledge about VC financing and how the structures actually work. I was actually able to get a huge network here at my university, but also here with amazing women, offering so much help already. And yeah, I have a headspace to engage in initiatives and own business hustles and much, much more. Thanks a lot. This is me at my Google internship right now, throwing the Google hat. We have a pool there, so I thought that's a funny picture to end it on. Feel free and invited to connect with me via LinkedIn. Share your stories, ping me your messages, and let's inspire that world together. Thanks.
Thank you, Stefanie. We're proud to have you as part of our global Zonta International community, and we look forward to watching you in your career. And so please accept this small token of your participation, and we'll come out. It is now my pleasure to introduce Emma Lehbib. Emma is a 2020 Young Women in Public Affairs Awardee, currently studying international and European law at the University of Groningen. Emma, the floor is yours.
Wow. I hope that the laptop doesn't interrupt the microphone. Looks very different when the room is actually full. But thank you for your kind words, Honorable Madam President, distinguished Zontiers, dear ladies and gentlemen. It is with greatest pleasure and honor to attend the 65th. Oh, let me show the presentation part. How do I turn on the presentation?
We need Emma's presentation.
We just need one moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, to attend the 65th Zonta convention and speak to you today, especially after having heard these great speakers before me. My name is Emma. I'm 20 years old, and I was actually born just 1 hour away from Hamburg. Currently, I'm studying, as mentioned, international and European law at the University of Groningen, which is in the Netherlands. But I don't speak really Dutch, so it's in English. It works out. And I have spent almost all my life in Germany, but a considerable part of my biography lays outside the borders of Germany. So I don't know if the presentation is going to show up soonish. Maybe I will just wait a second.
Yes.
And I hope you're all having a great time. Yeah, good. Yes.
The slide should be up momentarily. Thank you.
Amazing. See. So, to understand me and how I come to stand here, I will go back in time a bit. So this is me. Sorry, mom and dad. As a baby, I cried a lot. You can tell my parents got used to it because they have quite bright smiles on their faces. But I don't cry as much anymore. But this is not what I want to. Oh yeah, now you see the picture. Okay, I was already able to see it in the front. So yeah. But this is not what I want to talk about today, but about my parents still. They are both Sahrawis, and Sahrawis, these are the indigenous people of Western Sahara, which is in North Africa. And until 1975, Western Sahara was colonized by Spain. However, the Sahrawi population wanted, like many other African peoples, autonomy and independence. And this resulted in a lot of uprising and liberation movements. And the UN, United Nations and Spain promised a referendum in which the people can decide upon their land and their bodies. But meanwhile, Spain made an illegal contract with Morocco and Mauritania, which are the countries underneath and above of Western Sahara, to split the country in two. So Spain would still profit with, for example, fishing licenses, and the other two countries can just extend their territory. And this went against the self-determination right of the Sahrawi people as recognized by the International Court of Justice in 1975. So war broke out between the Sahrawi people and Mauritania and Morocco. And Mauritania capitulated quite quickly and recognized also the sovereignty of the people. But the war with Morocco continued until 1991. In 1991, there was a ceasefire mediated by the United Nations, and now there was supposed to be a referendum, and we can then decide what is happening with our land. So if we're going to be an independent state. But months of waiting turned into years, and years turned into decades. And until this day, my grandmother is living in the refugee camps, as 100,000 other Sahrawi people, waiting to one day go back. She still has the key to her home, hoping that one day she can lock the door and they can go back to their memories and go back and start their life as free people. So my biography is shaped by consequences of colonization, occupation, displacement, and exile. And it is the reason that I was born in Germany. It is the reason that I cannot return to the homeland. And it is the reason that if I want to see my family members, it has to be in the Sahrawi refugee camps or in exile. So I have family in the occupied parts, but it's so dangerous. We would have to meet, for example, in Spain in order to see each other again. That has had a considerable impact on my identity. And from a young age, I grew up with the stories and always knowing that there's another home somewhere else. And my parents were advocating our people's rights in Bremen, and they were a big inspiration. And I saw their strength and resilience all the time. And aware of my opportunities and the privileges I had growing up in Germany and the opportunities I have in education and also later on job-wise, I knew I had to be active. So in high school, I became involved in several projects, which you can see displayed a bit here. So I was attending political simulations abroad. I was organizing conferences such as Model European Parliament or Model United Nations. And we set up a charity run, actually, and we were able to accumulate 5,000 euros and give it to an orphanage we had personal contact to in South Africa. And I was able to visit Nepal with my friend with a scholarship and see the disparities there from Germany to Nepal, and also in Nepal, how different people also live. And at every step of the way, I had great friends with the same vision who inspired me and who I want to thank also in this moment, because it hasn't been only me, but it was a collective activity. So further, also coming back to what we all share in this room is womanhood. Being a woman has always meant and always means, well, currently we hope it will change, higher thresholds, more challenges, and loads of unlearning what has been taught to us in a patriarchal society. And thankfully, I had amazing women in my life who showed me what power we actually hold. And I want to talk about these women today. So this is, firstly, is my aunt. Her name is also Emma. I was named after her, and it means a lot to me. She studied medicine in Cuba, and works as a gynecologist, so a doctor for women, and is helping women at different stages of their lives to understand the autonomy of their body and to trust their body. She's a revolutionary, and she's looked up upon by so many people from different ages. And this is my great-grandmother. She was the wisest and the most peaceful person I know. The rare occasions that I had the chance to see her, I would ask her so many questions. How old are you? She would tell me she's 100. And then, but she took the time to educate me on everything with patience and understanding, which I appreciate to this day. And then there's my great-grandmother, Tutu. That's how we call her, but her name is Fatimatu. And she, together with her sister, which is also my grandmother, keep everything running in the refugee camps, for the family that they live together. They wake up early in the morning, despite their age, and stand up, prepare the food for the livestock, go feed their livestock, come back, prepare the breakfast, and then us, the younger people, would wake up and everything would already be ready. And you would hear no complaints, no comments. They just did it with such selflessness, and they lead the family all the way, and it is them that showed me what motherly care means and what it is also. They gave me an example of what it is around the globe everywhere. And I think you all know someone or several women who have done tremendous work for their families and communities, and they are one of them. And now I come to my biggest inspiration. This is my mother, who's also in the audience today. She has shown me that no matter what stage in your life you are, you can always start a new chapter, even if you fear it. And she did so many times. When she fled to Algeria at the age of 7, when she was sent to Cuba to study at the age of 11, when she moved to Germany with her husband in a new country, when being divorced and starting university with 4 children as an immigrant mother on her own. And now for a couple of years, she has been a teacher and showing children with a migrant background or a refugee background all the potential that they have and all the change they can do in the world. So she's my greatest role model, and she's the engine that keeps me running every single day. And it's because of them that I always associate womanhood with strength, resilience, and dedication. So receiving the Young Woman in Public Affairs Award was a great honor, a big surprise also. And it is also an accomplishment of generational struggle of my grandmother, of my mother, of my great aunts, and also my friends. It is not only about me, it is about all of them who have contributed to shape my life all the time. And because of this great power that is found in collective organizing, we can also see with Zonta that exists since 1999 and leading as an example to always continue and unite over borders, over cultures, over religion, over ethnicities. So what it personally meant to me, receiving the Young Women Public Affairs Award, was a huge boost in confidence, and I felt acknowledged in what I was doing. And most of all, I'm thankful to be part of this global network with inspirational pioneer women who pave new waves, who push boundaries and lead by example. And with this in mind, also, the Golden Set Club Bremen came to life, and some of the members are also here today. We are still pretty fresh, but we hope to continue the work that you're doing and also contribute also our parts in advancing the woman's position in society. So now, since receiving this award, some time has passed, 2 years, which can be quite a lot, but can also be very little time. And my focus recently has been promoting the self-determination right of the Sahrawi people. Because as feminist theories on intersectionality has shown, is that we need liberation in all forms. And as long as there's occupation, there will always be patriarchy. So one of the reasons for the situation in Western Sahara is the big resources that are available there. And in this context, I work with the NGO Western Sahara Research Watch, which focuses on uncovering these plundering in the territory and holding companies and governments responsible. And further, I'm part of the civil society organization Sahrawi Diaspora in Germany. And in Germany, we're less than 100 Sahrawi people. So this group is an important step for Western Sahara to generate space in the German narrative. And there it is especially women who stand in the forefront. We organize demonstrations, concerts, panels, discussions, movie nights, and we represent the Sahrawi diaspora of Germany in all of Europe. Here you see some pictures, and I've written an article which I've never thought I would do, so I'm mentioning it now, which was also translated into Finnish, just talking about what it means to grow up as a Sahrawi in exile. And now the question is, where am I heading? And I am a bit superstitious, so I will not talk too much about the future. So maybe some of you understand that, in some cultures, it's like it feels bit awkward to talk about if it doesn't happen. So we say don't jinx it. So yeah. But in less than a month, I will be attending the Strathmore University in Nairobi for my exchange semester. And I hope to expand my mind and and learn of liberation movements there in the past and right now, and especially the role women played in these movements. And once I return to Groningen, I will be writing my bachelor thesis and then taking a gap year to hopefully visit the refugee camps and stay some months there and help my family and learn also to read and speak to read and write in Arabic. And I hope to also improve my Spanish skills by going abroad and doing internships and just explore what the working world has to offer and how I can put my emphasis on. So if you have recommendations, I will be very happy, because I don't know, with 20, it's kind of difficult to say where life is heading, but I also appreciate that we don't exactly know. And as I said, my mom has shown me that you can change it around all the time. So yeah. Then after, I would like to continue studying, probably related to global affairs. And I'm interested in academia and politics and international organizations. And yeah, after having received this award and becoming part of the Zonta network, I know I will do well. And most importantly, I can pave the way for other women with similar biographies or different biographies. So I want to thank at this moment, the opportunity, Zonta Bremen, Zonta District 27, and also Zonta International for the words, and especially for welcoming me into your network and believing in me. And thank you for your attention. And I hope you're having a great stay in Hamburg, and let's change the world for the better for women.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. We look forward to seeing all that you will accomplish in the future, which I know will be a lot. So please, we have our International Committee Chairman, Janet Hope, and we have a small token of our appreciation. What a remarkable group of young women, right? So let's give another round of applause for our education speakers. One of my favorite new things we did this biennium was launch the Remarkable Women Powerful Stories series. I would like to extend a special thank you to the host of the series, Lynn Foley, for all of her work in bringing these stories of amazing women to us each month. Lynn is joining us via Zoom as one of our virtual attendees. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you so much, President Sharon. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you via Zoom and on screen.
I would also like to welcome Executive Director Allison Summers back to the stage. And Lynn and Allison have collaborated to bring us a special live session of Remarkable Women, Powerful Stories today. Please join me in welcoming Allison.
We have a delay there. Can you hear us, Lynn?
Yes, I can, Alison.
Thank
Good afternoon to you.
Good to see you. I can't tell which camera you're on. Lynn, you've interviewed 16 remarkable women. Is there a common theme that came through in those interviews?
Well, Sharon, there's a number of common themes, and I've just been pondering this, waiting for my turn this evening. And because it's quite late here in Australia, it's 11:15 at night. So the themes I've discovered in particular are education. Every single woman of the 17, I think it is now, I've interviewed, have expressed a real appreciation for their opportunities of education, whether that happened when they were school age or as mature women. Education has set them up to do what they now do. The second thing was courage. Every single person I've interviewed, every single woman has been courageous and bold and is using the power of her voice to make a difference in their chosen field broadly. And that followed by, they all had someone who inspired them. And it's interesting hearing particularly Emma speak just now. Many of the women spoke of being inspired by either their mother or a grandmother or another female family member who had encouraged them, who had believed in them and had built their confidence from very young girls into women. And every single one talked about barriers. They talked about having hard times, talking about how they recover from disappointments and how they built their resilience. And every single person I have spoken to talked about having someone in their life who was key. It could have been a partner or a parent or a good friend, but they had someone who was key that supported them.
So Lynn, when we talked about this, I know you reflected that there were a lot of tears, a lot of poignant stories, and a lot of laughter along the way. Is there an episode that was really memorable that you would tell the Zontians that they should go back and listen to?
Oh, don't ask me just to choose one out of all of these amazing women. I am just so privileged to have met them. Of course, our current president, Sharon, she gets 2 goes because, as you all know, she is the guest again in June. So almost straight after convention ends, President Sharon's next version will, as a retrospective, will go live. For me, I'm going to change the question, Alison. I'm going to choose 2 women in particular. Firstly, I'm going to choose Holly Ransom, an Australian young entrepreneur leader who we work towards solving the problems of the world in our conversation. She was inspired by her grandmother, She's recently a Harvard graduate. She's published her first book. She has a podcast where she's interviewed Barack Obama. She is a world leader in the field of entrepreneurship and changing the world. So if you want to be seriously inspired, Holly is one that I'd recommend. And her book, The Leading Edge, is even as fantastic as she is. And my second choice is going to be former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Helen Clark. With Helen, I didn't get any preparation. I went straight into the conversation pretty much cold, except for the preparation with the questions I was going to ask. I had about 3 minutes with her before we did the live interview, and I was in awe. I was fangirl number one. I've always admired Helen Clark as one of the early female leaders in our world in politics. And she was just so generous with her comments about growing up in her family, in a family of girls, and her education and what motivated her to go into politics. And it was all of those characteristics I spoke of earlier. So I recommend all 17, but they're the two I've chosen to speak about this evening.
Well, Lynn, we're going to let you go so that you can listen with other virtual attendees. Thank you so much for the gift, because this truly was a gift of Lynn's time investing in all of these interviews and working with these wonderful, remarkable stories. So thank you, Lynn. And we're going to bring our panelists up now.
It's my absolute pleasure to give that gift to everyone who listens and watches our series, Alison. And I just want to thank President Sharon and the board and yourself for believing in the series and what it can offer. So I can't wait to see how you conduct the interviews.
So it's absolutely delightful to speak with these ladies in advance and prepare for this. And I know we're running short on time, so we'll be as insightful as we can. I want to introduce Depesha Brugil, who is go ahead and wave so we know who you are, 2020 Zonta International Young Women in Public Affairs Awardee from Nepal. We have Laura Perniani, who is a 2021 Zonta International Amelia Earhart Fellow from Italy. And then we have Marina Schumann, who is president of the Golden Z Club here in Hamburg, Hansa, and you met her earlier. And she is also a District Young Women in Public Affairs Awardee from Germany. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today. So I'd like to start with Depesha. You are from Nepal, so we can wave to our 15 Zontians who are here from Nepal. Can you share with us where you're currently investing your time to make the world a better place for women and girls?
Thank you so much. I'm audible?
They'll get it. Go ahead.
Hello everyone. My name is Depesha and I'm from Nepal, as you already know. So yeah, I have been working in the women's issue for a long time. So I'm right now 20 years old. So my journey started when I was 14 years old. So pretty long, pretty early. And I have always been passionate about issues that are mattering to me, like women's right. And I come from a country where we women don't have an easy life. Of course, we don't have an easy life anywhere in the world, but in Nepal, it's the worst. So in my country, when we are menstruating, we are having to go through a lot of restrictions, and it is hampering our human rights to education and a lot of things. So from past 2 years, I have been working with my project, which is called the Menstruation Project, and we are planning to manufacture biodegradable menstrual pad in Nepal, and have been advocating for menstrual equity for a long time. And so this is the thing that I am investing my time in right now.
Thank you. So we're going to go to Laura. Laura, can you share with everybody what your focus is today and how you're helping create pathways for women coming up behind you?
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. So right now I'm actually doing a PhD in Milan at Politecnico di Milano, and I'm an aerospace engineer. So I'm actually focusing on combining self-healing materials and deployable structures for future space missions, because deployable structures are very interesting for space, basically because they help you save a lot of money, which is very important. And so the idea is just to start from a very small structure, which can be launched to save space, and then it can be deployed once it's on orbit. And yeah, you can obtain very large spacecraft or habitats and stuff like that. And by inserting self-healing materials, we are able to basically prolong the lifetime and the operational lifetime of these kind of structures. And what else? I try to kind of promote the role of women in STEM because I think it's very important. I think that things are getting better and better. I've seen it during my, let's say, university years. The number of girls in the aerospace field is increasing, at least in Milan, but there's still a lot to do. So yeah, I really want to, I don't know, push women towards scientific subjects and yeah, because they can do that. There's no, let's just, you know, remove the stereotype that women are not good for science. So that's it. Yeah.
And I had to laugh because when I'm sitting with Laura, she keeps talking about origami and aerospace. And I'm like, I'm confused. So there's so much we can learn from these ladies. Marina, first, thank you for being a Golden Z Club president. Thank you so much. We know that you are very keen on rewriting the script for women being represented on an equal basis with men. So tell everyone where you're placing your energies.
So I'm really passionate about women in media and gender equality in the media field, because I think that the media is the funnel through which we experience the world in a lot of ways. And there's still a lot to do. So for example, in movies, there are only 12% women directors in the 100 highest grossing films. So I volunteered with the organization Movies by Her, which is advocating to change that and have more women directors, producers, and writers. And also last week, I organized a convention, a summer school for film music, game music, and sound design. And there I organized a Women in Audio Day, because in the film audio, it's even worse. It's only 5% of women who are working in that field. So there's also a lot of room.
Thank you. So it was interesting because we were talking about women's rights and we were talking about how these young ladies are really global citizens, the way they view the world and work in the world. But it was interesting as we were talking about that, Depisha, you made a comment that was so insightful, and you said, we are leading extremely different lives while living on the same planet. And I just loved that statement. So can you expand more for our audience what you meant by that when we were talking about women's rights and being global citizens?
Yeah, like as I already told that even for women when they are menstruating, it's a very different scenario than what you go in Europe or elsewhere in the world. So first of all, we women in Nepal are having very much difficulty to have access of menstrual product, and then again we have a lot of societal boundaries that are meant for restrictions. So for example, when we are menstruating, we are not allowed to go into our kitchen, or like our like there is even tradition in some parts of Nepal where women are kept away from their house in a shed during their periods. And this whole concept comes because they think that women are impure and dirty during their menstruation. So imagine when you are on your period, and which is a time of your life when you need most of the care and food, and in the case like we have to depend on somebody else to bring us food and water, and the situation is not the same like for every woman in the world. And also as you said, like that just because we are born in different part of the world, we are having a different life. And this also, I would like to also connect this with the visa issue. Like for me to be able to sit here was a very difficult task. I had to prepare for months to gather all the documents, prepare for the interview, which was kind of like humiliated by the German embassy. And that was not the end of all of these hurdles. In every airport, I had to go through interviews by the security person who were asking me like, why do you want to go to Germany, or why are you coming to Germany? So even though I had a lot of reasons, I had to face all of these hurdles. And I'm sure that here you are a lot of these people who had to face so many things just to be here. And I am proud of every one of you. Yeah, so first of all, my gender makes it very difficult for me, and then my citizenship of the country, and then my race. So every time someone sees a brown girl, then they have different perception in their mind. So it made my way very difficult to be here, but I'm really proud to be here, and it was all worth it.
Thank you. So Laura, you're a little further in your career than the other two panelists. And when you hear statistics like closing the global gender gap is still 100 years away, how is it currently for you and as you're moving through your career path? Do you find that there are men and women who are willing to help make way? What more can people do to help young professional women like yourselves make their way?
I think that things, as I was saying before, things are getting better and better actually. And I see actually a lot of, I have a lot of male friends, a lot of men that I know that really support, female careers and stuff. My inspiration was my granddad. And he was the person that pushed my mom to, go on with her studies. And he always believed in the education of all these grandchildren and stuff. So, yeah, I would say that I can see a bright future, actually. I see a lot of improvements. And as I was saying before, the percentage of females, so of girls in the aerospace field in Milan has increased a lot since the first time that I started university. And I think that a very important thing is just to, try to cooperate and to kind of break down some stereotypes and some kind of ideas that are, common right now. And I think that, a cooperation is very, very important. And cooperation between, men and women is super important, because a lot of men, I'm sure about it, are, kind of aware of the situation and are willing to help. I know a lot of very, very amazing people that, try to go on with this idea. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you. So I want to ask Marina a very particular question, because you are an active part of Zonta. And a lot of times we talk about, what more can we do for young professional women, or what would you that you would want Zontians to know that you would wish we would help with or think about for the future leaders?
So I think that Zonta has a lot of opportunity to support young women, as we have seen earlier today. The scholarships, the awards are already helping so much. And I think also in the clubs, there is a lot of opportunity to support the young woman locally in your community. I was really impressed yesterday by the kickoff meeting of the cross mentoring, and I'm excited that this is going forward, because it's one of the strengths of Zonta to have these experienced women and women in position of power, and then the young woman coming to you and learning from you. And also you can learn something from us, as we've seen yesterday. So that's great.
So this question is for all the panelists, whoever wants to answer. You are very active women. Some might call us overachievers. I would suspect that's most of us in this room. What do you do to help build your confidence or to help boost resilience when you hit barriers?
Okay, I think it depends on what context. So for me personally, if I feel like I don't have confidence, first of all, I have a very great partner who's very supportive. So whenever I not feel that confident, I can go to him and he gives me a pep talk and tells me all the great things I've done in the past. That helps a lot. But sometimes it can also be a sign that you're maybe doing too much at the moment. And in that case, it helps to take a step back and have a day off without feeling bad about it. It's sometimes hard because we're doing so much and keep going, but then start again recharged. And then the second part is if it's a project, maybe that there are some struggles on the way. I'm a big fan of strategizing and planning and organizing. So again, take a step back, analyze the problem, and then lay out a roadmap how to solve the problem. And that makes me feel very calm and in control and also confident then again.
Go ahead. You want to share?
Yeah, for me, like whenever I lose some confidence in me, I just look up the past things that I have done in my past days, like how many people in Nepal I educated about menstruation, how many mindset we have changed. All of these statistics just give me confidence to do more, and to also realize how many women we have helped through our project. It really boosts up my confidence and also encourages me to do more. And also I meditate a lot, so I am meditating from an early age. So whenever I feel pressurized or stressed, then I just do meditation. And this is also one thing that I would like to recommend you, that meditation really helps.
So there are so many different issues that we can take up for women in the world. Is there one in particular? I know you've talked a lot about your position and your work around menstruation projects, so you have to pick a different one now. But what are the things? What are some of the things that really are deep in your gut of an extreme concern when it comes to women's equity and women's rights right now that you talk about in your daily life or with your friends? It's a big question. There's a lot of things to choose, but that just helps us know what's on your mind as a concern area. Big question.
Well, I would say to me in general, one thing that really strikes me a lot is that, well, all the differences that you can have, moving from one country to the other, it's just, I know that I come from a very privileged position. So sometimes I just realize that I'm not conscious enough about the struggles that are faced by women in other countries that are, less privileged than where I live. So I would say that a thing that I think about quite often is how to kind of, make people more conscious about all these issues related to, gender inequity, but also, race inequity. And because there's really a huge gap between, different countries. And as she was saying before, that's absurd that, I don't know, as a white person, I can go basically wherever I want and nobody's gonna ask me questions, and I can ask for a visa and get it quite, quickly. And then I know a lot of people, also people, for example, I have a Persian colleague or a colleague from Iran. He's been struggling for 2.5 years to get a visa to get to the US. So yeah, that's kind of frustrating because he hasn't done anything bad, but it's just like, there are some parts of the world that are privileged and some others that are kind of I don't know, second class countries, and that's absurd. So I would say that this is what I think the most, and of course this is also related to women in less privileged countries and the rights that they should have and they don't have. So let's try to be more conscious about it and make people more conscious about these differences.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, it will be particularly violence, any form of violence against women, because right now in our country, the rape cases are rising instead of decreasing. So I have a lot of concern over that issue. And also one of the form of violence we experience a lot in Nepal is the violence or the discrimination in the workforce. So like from past few years, I have some years before, I had also faced some discrimination in my workforce where I was volunteering in an NGO before. So it was not a pleasant situation for me. So I had to resign from that office just because I was treated differently of my gender. And then right now in our project, we are trying to found a non-profit company in Nepal, and we are going through every little steps to make it better for women to have leading positions. And I think it makes a huge sense to have this environment made for women so that they are having to face less discrimination or having to face less hurdles because of their gender. And I think it's really important for countries like Nepal to have a workspace with less discrimination for women, because we still have very less women in leading position, and it will be a lot of problem. It will be a big problem if this continues to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Also adding on what you both just said, I think it's also really important to start young and go into the schools, into the education systems, and teaching young women, young girls, that they should not accept it if people tell them, you cannot do that because you're a girl, you cannot go into STEM, you cannot be in a leadership position. Yes, they can. And I think we have the chance to tell them they can and to support them and to empower them at a young age.
Thank you. Are we at time? Sharon, are we at time? I can't, my time monitor is not working well, so I want to honor that you need a coffee break, but I'm enjoying our panelists. So while Sharon's coming up, I'm going to ask you each if you could give us 1 or 2 sentences on what it meant to you to win the Zonta International Award that you won. So we'll start with Marina. Tell us.
All right. I won the Young Woman in Public Affairs Award in 2016. And it really meant a lot to me because, first of all, it was great that all my volunteer work that I did in high school in different committees, different projects, was honored that way and appreciated. That felt really good. And then the second part also was the financial aspect as well, because I'm also the first person in my family to go to university. And it was very difficult at first to, have that orientation and how does university work, and living in a new city, in a big city. And so it was good that this first semester I didn't really have to work next to my studies. And that was also really great. So thank you for that.
Well, I won the Amelia Earhart scholarship, and it was wow. It was kind of a surprise to me. I was super surprised and super pleased. And I kind of realized that this scholarship opened a lot of doors to me. So it's, it was beautiful, and it helped me to kind of go on with my studies. It was part of the kind of funds that helped me go to the US for 6 months and have an exchange at Harvard. So I'm very, very grateful for this. And I mean, thanks to the scholarship, I'm here. So I was invited here and I'm speaking to you. So I'm talking to you. So it's an honor. So I'm super pleased about it and really, really grateful for this opportunity.
For me, it was a very big deal to be awarded the YWP award in 2020. The world was dealing with the pandemic at that time, so I got awarded in June. So in March, it was getting worse. So everything was moving online from my education to my work, and I didn't have a laptop at that time. And it was a huge deal for me to even be able to buy a laptop, because for a long time I was just doing my project voluntarily. So thanks to Zonta Club of Kathmandu and Zonta International for this award, so that I was able to buy a laptop for me, and I could utilize it in so many aspects that I cannot describe it here. And because of the award, I was recognized in a very well manner in Nepal. I was also invited in the national television for my speech, and right now I'm getting an opportunity to be here, and it's only because of the award, and it has empowered my voice, and I'm able to bring the stories that I have encountered in Nepal to this global stage. So I'm really grateful for that.
Well, thank you, ladies, for coming and speaking with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting us go just a little bit over into the coffee break. President Sharon, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you to Allison and our panelists for a very interesting conversation today. And thank you to Lynn Foley for bringing us the stories of 16 successful, remarkable women with diverse backgrounds and professional and personal experiences. We've all learned so much from their powerful stories. And I have just 1 minute that I am going to have two names, because there is the drawings every day for the Brisbane Convention. You turned in your convention drawing, and I've been given two names, and each of you will get a koala bear. And the first one is Catherine Erb, E-R-B, and Cynthia DeJesus. It's D-E-J-E-S-U-S. I'm not speaking well right now. So both of you have your bears, your koala bears up here. We are now at 3:13, and we were going to start at 3:30. I need you promptly in here at 3:35. We have been running late to come back in, and this session started late. I recognize that, but we need to quickly come back. You have your dine-arounds, your evening, and so I'm sorry, but we need to cut this break a little short.